Google does.
Awesome. Well, then I apologize for even bringing up their name, and I will never do it again.
You're good.
And that's exciting news for me. So I don't have a project created. Now, I don't know how to get too far beyond this without any real training. Is there anything I could do here that you could guide me on that I would then be able to access here? And at a very starting point, at very least, you're starting to see how I can interface with this with voice. But
totally get it. Yeah, I can give you some links on that, and you can look at it later if you'd like.
Okay.
I think I got control workforce here. But we can send you stuff on how to create a workforce project.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Now, at the same time, I want to show you a similar state. I think if we did have a project, I should be able to make selections and get into that. I think this is kind of where I got hung up the last time as well. I just didn't have a lot of time to dive in too deep. Let me go ahead and jump back a step. Navigate home. My programs. Survey 123. Survey 123. Yeah, so that's that's a phonetic thing. It's looking for the value of the numbers displayed. So instead, I could have said select item 6 to choose that app or whatever the number was up there. Allow. That's allowing some permissions. Allow. Sign in. Show help. Hide help. Okay, I think I recall this one. So this button, for some reason, is on a different layer. It's not native Android built, perhaps. That button is at least floating above. So one way around that, at any point with an application, I could say, My Controls, Mouse, Navigate Back. Now I have a head-controlled mouse. I can hover over this and say, Mouse click. Mouse click. Letter K-Y-L-E-F-I-R-L-I-K. Close keyboard. Mouse click. Scan code. Close
I
keyboard.
think you need a period in there.
For the name?
Yeah, because didn't you have Kyle dot?
No, I removed that last time. It is just
Okay.
Kyle for like one word. Thank you, though. Sign in. Okay, we get some random numbers. No surveys on device. Let's see. Mouse click. Okay, there are no surveys. So, again, I kind of run into this standstill where I just don't know how to set up a project or set up surveys. So, obviously, this isn't a very impressive demo, other than that it is completely interfaceable right now because basically the application just sees it as Android. Now, where I think discussion could go, as a potential partnership is just with assistance from our engineering team. And because we have mutual customers that are looking for this on our hardware and so on, I think, we're happy to provide any best practices in terms of slight tweaks and optimizations. Ideally, if we could get the WearML layer to detect these buttons as icons, so I don't have to do the mouse click, that would be great. Things of that nature. Each app is a little bit different in that regard, and we're happy to work with you in that regard and obviously understand what you're willing to put in there in terms of engineering. We have worked with certain companies before where without access to the source code ourselves, we could launch WearML and do a capture, and this will show us, let's call this survey, this specific page. I can capture the XML of the page and see all of the components. So I have a lot of views and descriptions. I don't want to get too technical, but I could go in here to one of these objects, and I could say speech command equals, let's see, I don't know what that component is. That's just a rectangle. View virtual child. Let's see, test command.
Hey, Kyle, what you're showing here is great because every one of our apps has what we call an app link feed. So where I think you might be headed for where I think you might be headed here is that you could actually have your own voice command for an app. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, so essentially what I'm doing here is, for my ease of use, taking a non-optimized app such as Survey 123 in its current state, I could add speech commands, but it's not adding to the app itself. It's adding on the device. So it's adding an XML script that runs on top of the application. So for my device only, I could use these commands to navigate it. However, it's not very scalable. And typically, if we were working with customers who want to deploy at scale, a lot of times we've used this as sort of a prototype, something we would bring to the app developer, such as yourself, to show them, hey, here's what we might do a little differently, and mock it up with a couple different commands and things like that. It's not very scalable. It requires a different WearML or XML file that would then need to be deployed on every individual device. And again, that's not super scalable. If there were an APK file or a Google app file, or sorry, not Google, Android app file for the device specifically, that it contained all of this embedded WearML, not only do you have a lot more flexibility in terms of what types of things you can optimize and customize, it's built into the app, and it's more like some of the other applications, like the My Camera application, for instance, which is just our own app, where all the commands are baked in. The interface is very easy to read and go, as opposed to sort of these little tweaks. This is just sort of a starting point. It's what we call WearML scripting, which is this, versus embedded WearML, which is built into that source code.
Where I was going there is that you can say, call, I don't know, I'll say survey123 as an example, although I don't know that they can do this. With Collector, we can do it, but call survey123 with a specific form to launch automatically, have it to a state that is creating a new survey. So if you could attach that with a voice command, then a customer could go launch inspection or something like that. They could say launch inspection. It would launch survey 123 application, open up the inspection form, and automatically put them into a state where they could enter details on the form.
It's possible. Now, I will say, when thinking about this from a development standpoint, you want to think of it as an Android app first. So basically, our speech commands have to correspond specifically and primarily with a tap of an existing button. So we can have a command that taps something that's on the screen. So if you had a button that launches that field to allow the person to start inputting data or something like that, that's totally possible. To automate a certain set or sort of do a string of commands that feeds it into a certain state, that's going to take a little bit more work. That's going to probably take a little bit more development work on the app itself. Basically, what we're doing is this is a rectangle somewhere on this screen. So it could have been, and it was on this Survey 123 app, select item 29. So it could have been the refresh button. It could have been, this giant green button up here. It could have been any one of these. I don't know which object that was from looking at it here. It would be easier to find in the source code. But what I'm doing by adding that command is adding that to that button so that if I set it, it would be the same as if I were to tap that with my finger. So that's really where we think of it from the baseline. It is possible to do some of that type of automation, but at the very start, we're not asking you to rebuild the app from scratch. We're asking you to look at the existing Android app, and if you could add a command that just was refresh, that would click this button, and say that button's not accessible, you could create a coordinate button that just looks at the screen. You know where this is. You click to find the coordinates, and you say, when I say this command, I want a click on this coordinate so that it will access that button. Same kind of thing. So it's more of a straight one-to-one.
Yeah.
We're really not trying to change too much on your end or make it harder for you guys.
So, Kyle, can I ask a question just to level set with everybody? You guys aren't necessarily thinking about building a mobile application. You just want to be the hardware providers to some mobile applications, correct?
Yeah, so typically how it works, we have, like Brian mentioned, over 200 solution partners. So a lot of those are very household names, solving different types of problems. Obviously, this type of project management is something that hasn't been tapped into that deeply, which is why we see great opportunity with you guys. But we're looking at, things for remote mentors. So see what I see is like I'm out in the field and I need to call someone for assistance. They can see through my camera. They can annotate on my field of view and assist me. A lot of the big ones, like Skype for Business, actually is moving to Microsoft Teams, but we're working with Microsoft on optimization there. So some of these types of things, very household names, they are optimizing their applications for our device in this fashion. So we are not necessarily a development house. We provide and essentially it's just the Android SDK. We don't have our own SDK. You take the Android SDK in tandem with, I'll just go here to show you what it looks like, in tandem with our API. So if you go to development environments, say you built your app on native Android or any of these other ones, you click on the respective ones, and then we'll go to embedded WearML, and then you have your list of directives, you have a tutorial, you have API and applets, so you can utilize our camera, our document viewer, which is native. It allows you to zoom in and move your head to look around the document. Movie player applet, barcode reader if you want to be able to scan things in for easy text entry, dictation if you want to just be able to speak and have that convert to text, as well as text to speech if you want it to read what's on the screen back to you, and so on. So it's fairly easy to plug and play. You just take your existing Android app, and then you can access any APIs that we have with commands like this. You would basically just paste this into your existing source code and go. So it's really not all that complex. We're not building our own software development kit or overcomplicating that. But at the same time, it's fair to say that we're not typically the ones optimizing other parties' apps, because most companies are not willing to share their source code.
And you guys aren't using Qt today, are you? Qt?
No, I don't believe we are. I would need to discuss with one of our developers. I think was that what you guys are using for development primarily?
I'll let Jeff answer that.
Just Survey 123 and Quick Capture all the other applications are written in Swift and Kotlin for Android.
Okay, understood. So that would explain why in Survey 123 these icons are not being caught up like they were in Workforce, where we saw all of those commands being automatically accessible.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think Qt, I would need to discuss with our developers to determine where we stand on that. It's not currently one of the supported frameworks, but there may be an easy way to plug that in using one of these other ones. I would just need to assess or consult them up.
Hey, quick question, Raphael. If you're using an application with the HMT that has to do with like law enforcement, with location tracker, and also probably the navigate. So if there was a active shooter per se, and they were able to actively help navigate the wearer of the device of the HMT to the location of the shooter, and be able to track simultaneously at the hub of office of the FBI, would they be able to use both of those apps at the same time?
So there's a lot. So this, in theory, yes. And the reason why I say in theory yes is because there's a lot of other additional steps that need to happen before somebody who would be using that device would even be able to get to that active shooter.
Yeah.
So to begin with, if they're inside, you'd have to have that entire interior network mapped of where that person is. People can use our software to do that. Then you would have to have some sort of order, like workforce or work order management system to basically alert somebody where to go. They would need to be able to access that interior network that they might not necessarily have access to. Mm-hmm. Then they'd have to be wearing a device, and then that device would have to know how to get them to that location. So in some ways, yes, but there's a lot of, I would say, organizational hurdles to get to that point. And then there's also a lot of sort of implementation steps that both customers, the FBI, the police department, and the owner of that building would have to go through to get that to be successful.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's perfect.
I think it would be more realistic in some ways. Do you guys, and this is just a simple question, do you guys have a GPS on your device?
Yep.
Okay. And then do you...
In terms of it's the same GPS you'd find like in a cell phone or a tablet.
Okay. And then...
It's a Qualcomm chipset. Yeah.
Okay. And Jeff, do you think that they could leverage like Tracker then in that way so that they could at least track where workforces are and where different people are?
Yeah, I mean, you also mentioned you've got Google Play services, right? So we require Google Play services for Tracker. So, it should work. What we'll need to do with your org, though, Kyle, is Google Play, or sorry, Tracker is a premium app, so you'll need an additional license for that.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And now that you guys are a partner, sorry, Jeff, I'm just going to jump in real quick. Now that you guys are a partner, you get access to a bunch of demo and marketing licenses. So that as you're building demos for showcasing the technology of how it works, you can get access to different levels of technology. That's really for like a sales engagement model and what that looks like. If you guys are developing a solution, really testing to see if this is a viable solution for us, there are these development licenses that we can sort of hand off for you guys to just test and validate that it works too. And Monique can help you.
And I know I have that. Monique, can you just email me how I forward that information to Kyle? Or the links or what have you, because I have to put it on my desktop as well, so I can add it to my HMT. But I really want Kyle to have it. He's my go-to. He's not. I can only take this software so far.
Yeah, so we're running into this issue, like you mentioned, with Google Play services. So I don't know how far we get even with the license currently. Do you know exactly what the Google Play services dependencies are specifically? If there's any, even a remote possibility of having a version of the app that didn't rely heavily on those?
Yeah, I think it's for the motion and fitness stuff, but I'd have to double check with our devs on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you try Navigator as well, Kyle? But you don't have to do it right now. But
nope, no, but I can do it right now.
I would validate Collector more than anything else. I think that might be a work, and then because they're not using Qt, they're probably not going to be able to use Quick Capture, right, Jeff?
Yeah, they'll have trouble with Quick Capture too. I would say, Kyle, that we're in this process of rebuilding Collector right now. There's an open beta on the new one that's coming out. I'll just pull that up and give you a link for it. And you can download it from Google Play. Because the user experience for it is quite a bit different.
Let me ask you guys this, kind of while that's going on in the background. Are there do you know if there's any work underway right now to make some of these apps voice enabled, and or do you anticipate any support and or pushback for trying to get voice enablement on some of these apps?
There was some stuff around the Quick Capture for voice enablement. I think it just kind of worked, and I don't know all those details on it, but I'd have to look it up. But we haven't really explored that much. I could see us being able to support that pretty easily with kind of the same approach that you've taken here, I think. But we just haven't gone there yet. So
granted, we're kind of on the early side, but we're definitely not in the infancy, but we're kind of, I would say, this is my own observation, we're kind of in the toddler phase, maybe, sixth grade phase. So, I'm guessing that 10, 12 years ago, your apps were not optimized for tablets because that really wasn't much of a thing back then. Probably didn't have an Android version, but I think, anybody you ask in the industry will tell you field, mobility is moving this way, especially in any kind of sophisticated field worker environment. And whether it's our device or somebody else's, that voice piece is going to be key.
Kyle, sorry to interrupt you, but before you go, just go back. You can actually use Collector without signing in. Because you're not going to have any methods probably that you can use. Hit the dude. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then you can pick one of those.
And these sort of collection maps would be something that a GIS person would author and create on behalf of a user. And so then ideally what somebody would do is they would go out with a device and do this sort of assessment or inspection workflow or something of that effect.
Yeah, you could think of like that damage assessment. Hey, if you're thinking about...
Sorry about that. I got booted. Every time I'm putting the headset on and I'm putting my headphones back in, every time I take the headphones off, it kicks me out of the meeting for some reason. Maybe I'm putting something on the headphones. Or, I don't know. These new Bose things are really really killing me here. So you said damage assessment, is that right?
Yeah, I was going to suggest
that. Look at that. That worked well.
If you're after the the responder examples, like CAL FIRE uses Collector to do all the damage assessment reports on fires, right? So it would be wonderful for them to be hands-free as they do it, because they're in these areas where, man, it can be pretty challenging to walk and hold a device as you're climbing over, half-destroyed structures or, carrying other equipment with you. So it's very useful.
So I'm going to try to update the location settings to high accuracy mode, see if that fixes the restriction set in the upper left. Security and location. Location. Mode. High accuracy. Okay.
And then one of the other things that we do is we have several hardware partners like Trimble, like EOS, who do high accuracy devices. And applications like Collector and Survey 123 can actually connect to those to get somebody a sub-centimeter, as Jeff was saying, sub-centimeter position. So if you're thinking about those survey users, they could be wearing this device to do the collection, but also connecting in with their Trimble device so that they can be holding the phone, not having to figure out how to hold the phone and hold the, what are those things called,
The
Jeff?
laser stick.
The laser, yep, exactly.
So you can't. So let's see. Page down. So I'm able to scroll through some of these things. I'm not sure exactly what this is. I'm hitting the plus sign. So this is adding sort of a tag to
so that's adding an actual asset. It'll add a point to the map. And so if you were to scroll down a little bit through the filters there, those are the different types of residential buildings potentially.
Interesting.
And so you added a residential contact. If you pressed add point.
Add point. Show help. Hide help. Select item 6.
So now.
Yeah, so it's saying the required GPS accuracy isn't met. I'm also indoors. I'm sure it's a little bit better when you're outdoors. I know that we have some issues in the room that I'm in specifically.
Okay.
I know that I've seen extremely high accuracy GPS as soon as I go outside of this building. It's a very old building. We got tin roofs, or tin ceilings rather. It's a very old historical building, so GPS isn't great in here. Okay.
So one of the things is that it'll just alert you that you don't have good GPS, and it'll let you continue moving on. So then the next thing you could do is take a picture. You could attach an attachment. Yep.
Allow.
What?
I just took
Okay, so yep, that cross launched our camera app. No
Okay.
issue.
And then I just got my
Take photo.
box.
Okay, but where's Teddy at now?
He's outside.
Okay.
I'm waiting for him to scratch the door.
Okay.
I wasn't even
Kicked me back to.
Okay, do you finish your doing all
You know
your
what
work?
It might be that I have.
You finished doing all your
two
spelling
instances
words?
Of Collector running on the device.
Huh?
Yeah.
So maybe that cross launched the other one. Let me see what happens here. Recent applications.
Okay, you wrote those down.
Page down.
You did that one pager, front and back.
Page down. Page up. Maybe that was it.
It did the beta.
Collector? Yeah, it is the right one. So let's try this again. I don't know why it kicked me back there. Maybe it's not plugging the camera back in correctly. Damage assessment. Try it again and see what happens. It could be that it's not using the camera applet properly, so it's not feeding that photo back into the app. My GPS accuracy is pretty bad. Select item 6. Select item 6. Select item 6. So every time that GPS accuracy is updating, these numbers are updating because the component is changing, so that's a little bit difficult. Select item 6. There you go. I think I got it. Page down. Yeah, so the page down is kind of a large, so there are other options, but it's kind of a large scroll, so it's not letting me see all the different components here. If I drag my mouse while connected to the computer, I could do it at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
It looks like you can even make it full screen. Page up. Page up. Now it's better. Minor. add point. Select item 5. And so that button right there, the text is not the actual object there for some reason. Okay. Take photo. See if it does the same thing again. Take photo. Okay, there we go. I don't know if it added the photo. Page down. Is there any way of us checking to see if it did? Oh, it did.
Yep,
yeah,
there it
added
is.
the
Yep.
photo there. Nice. Select item 9. So yeah, that button's off to the side here. If it was over here, we'd be able to access that. Number 7946824. Next item.
And so if we made these fields, instead of going through and saying item 9, but it said incident name was,
Yeah.
the thing that was updatable.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be easier. There's a couple scroll things, but honestly, this one compared to even the live one, it seems to be working very well. Found my location immediately. I was able to add this, so this is pretty cool stuff. Definitely progress. Dictation.
I'm impressed how close it is.
There is
just
an
out of the
issue
box.
here.
Quickly.
Accept.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I just wanted to make the comment that we are at the end of our hour. I'm not sure if Raphael or Jeff have any other meetings that they have to go to, but I just wanted to make mention of that.
Yeah, I actually have to run, but I just wanted to say for next steps, Jeff, could you think of anything that maybe we could do on our side? Is this something that you might want to take back to the team, or what would be a good sort of next step for RealWear as well?
From my perspective, I think there's a couple things. One, Kyle, I'll send you information about how to get Workforce up and running. I'd really like to see this with Workforce. I think if we can get a demonstration for others on the team, that would be good. Or depending on timing, we get together in person. I don't know if you're planning to come to our partner conference in Palm Springs, but it'd be wonderful to have you at the partner conference. Most of our, if not all of our dev team will be there for that. It's a good opportunity to meet one-on-one.
Hey, Brian, that was our plan, right?
Yeah, what was the date again on that?
March 2nd through the 5th.
No, it's the 7th.
7th through the 9th.
Oh, they said that was the developer. Okay, the developer conference is the 7th through the 9th, correct?
No.
No.
The partner conference is the 7th through the 9th.
Okay.
And then the developer conference is the conference following that. So that'll be from the 9th, or the 10th, through that Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. And the developer conference is really for people who want to get hands-on on the code base, understand what it is, understand how ESRI really develops products and what that looks like, and how they can leverage those codes, that code base essentially, in their own applications.
So Jerome, when we were thinking it was the week before, I could do it.
Right.
But now that it's that week, I can't. But I think it would be great if we can have Kyle there and probably a couple other folks, so we can kind of connect after this call or the next couple of days and see who else makes sense. But
Okay.
7th through the 9th, I am definitely out of nowhere near the state. I'll put it that way.
Gotcha.
So,
All right.
where
Well,
are you guys all
7th through the
based?
9th, I'll update my calendar.
It's in Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And where are you all based, like office-wise?
We have offices all over the U.S. Monique, Jeff, and I are based here in Redlands, California. But we have offices in D.C., we have offices in Portland, Oregon, Portland, Maine, Denver, Houston. They're all over the place. Yeah.
Okay, so our headquarters is Vancouver, Washington, which is real close to Portland, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm personally live in Phoenix, and Jerome's obviously in Vegas, and I know I'm in California a lot, especially Bay Area. So,
okay.
Yeah, we could always. It sounds like you guys have kind of seen it in person, but it would definitely be good to, get together and do a little deeper dive at some point here.
Was that you, Brian, that said you're in Phoenix?
Yep.
Yeah, so I thought I'd mention it. The Waste Management Open, the golf tournament, they use Workforce for it. So,
Oh, nice.
out there, we maybe get you behind the scenes to see what they do for Workforce. That'd be kind of cool.
Are you going to be there, Jeff?
No, I wish I was going. That would be a lot of fun, but no, not this year.
Yeah, I haven't been in a while. And, prior life, we always had, space at the 16th hole, which was a pretty good time. But that's been a while.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so maybe we look at a time where we can meet up in person. My CTO/dev lead is actually in the other Portland. He's in Portland, Maine, but we do have an R&D office that's in Portland, Oregon as well. So there's an opportunity we could come out and visit too. I'll have to talk to him and see when that would make sense. But
Great. Okay. So I think we can definitely get presence at the partner conference. Unfortunately, I'd love to be there, but it sounds like I won't be able to. But we'll have Jerome, maybe Kyle, and whoever else makes sense. And now between now and then, because we've got almost a month and a half or more. I guess Kyle and I don't know if it's Jeff. What do you guys think next steps in terms of trying to see what needs to be done to try to optimize? I'd love to be able to walk into customers that I've worked with in the past and say, I know you guys are using ESRI and using these apps, and it'll work on this device, and let's test. So
yeah, I think a starting point is what makes the most sense is to identify the app or applications that we want to start focusing on. I think this collector beta is a very promising one. It doesn't seem like there's that much in terms of optimization that would need to be done. It's reading the GPS, maybe optimization of a few of those text fields. Might be good to for us internally, Brian, to rope in Chris Parkinson, find out who on his team could be sort of a bit of an advisor or a consultant in terms of what could be optimized further, and then understanding from the ESRI team, what level of willingness you're willing to do any of those optimizations and build a version of the application that would primarily run on the HMT. One thing I didn't mention before, in general, the embedded Wear ML is something that will be recognized on our device, but is ignored by all other devices. So it could actually be an update to the existing application and be built into the same application, so you don't have to manage two different iterations. So that's something we could discuss as well. But I think getting Chris Parkinson's feedback on who on his team could be of assistance to sort of advise you guys and consult and provide some best practices to get something in terms of a working demo going, and see where it goes from there.
I just add one thing that helps from our perspective is if we can have a customer that we can rally behind, that makes a world of difference too, because then we can look at what are their specific needs. So I don't know if we can identify potential customers and start to work with them together with ourselves. That would be great.
Jeff, there was another play in this, just to give you some context. There were a couple AEC firms at Autodesk University that were interested in maybe using the RealWear hardware and potentially using our runtime SDKs to basically build their own application.
Okay.
And so
that's very interesting.
There were some discussions with, I think it was like Gannett Fleming and GeoDecisions, Brian over at GeoDecisions, and GHD, Andy Lovell over at GHD, and those services companies, those AEC firms, really building their own digital product and taking that to market. And so I don't know if this is necessarily, I don't know if this is here or there or where it sort of lies, right? But just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, and just to copy that, Ralph, we actually shipped out HMT to Gannett Fleming. To their team, and GHD is starting their order as well in about another week.
And do you know if they're purchasing to build an application, or are they purchasing to use the hardware device?
Well, first and foremost, they were going to do what we're doing now, was just pretty much testing it so they know what works on it and what doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, sort of initial evaluation. I think then they would consult us. I think then like you said, it gives us an opportunity to identify some customers early on that, and what needs. It really is a requirements feedback gathering from them to say, hey, what works, what doesn't work, what could be better, and that'll really help steer the direction we go together.
Right.
And I'll say, there's a lot of different utilities that were at different stages of, proof of concept and or pilot. And I don't know that any of them are saying that not having, an ESRI application is a deal breaker. But I think all of them would benefit from it. I think all of them, if we could go in and say this is a capability, all of them would see, okay, there's a lot more we can do now. So we can certainly, maybe Gannett Fleming's a good one to at least kind of put a pin in for now. But we can, if we need to gather more, I mean, that's probably some work we could do, going to those different customers we're working with and getting whatever kind of statement we need from them as far as wanting that capability.
That sounds great, and it sounds like we'll be able to get together at partner conference and sort of get some face time with the development team so that we can sort of start to sketch out maybe what that roadmap looks like. And Gannett and Brian will definitely be at partner conference too, so maybe we can organize a meeting between the three parties and start to move forward with something like that.
Perfect.
Great.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome.
All right, well, sounds good. Thanks, everyone, for taking the time. I appreciate it, and Jerome, obviously, for setting it up, and look forward to working together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks a lot, Monique. Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Raphael. And thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.